Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite with One Angry Pagan with another Eco Flake show. How many episodes are we in now, Pagan? I
Oh,
think, let me just look. 16.
I was going to say
16.
it's like 16 or 17.
Oh, yeah,
Fucking hell.
it says 16 on my title. So we've done 16 episodes. So we're managing to do them once a month at least. You know, we kind of have to. Sometimes we'll have to do it like. Sometimes you have to wait a couple of weeks. Sometimes we can have to do. We only get two. Sometimes it's in 2 weeks' time. It varies because sometimes I'm just not available for a period. So, yeah, the last one was quite a while ago. I think it was was it 1 month, a complete month ago? I can't remember.
I think it was about
It's actually,
four or 5 weeks ago.
yeah, it's definitely several weeks ago. Yeah, definitely for sure. Now, how are you doing, my friend? It's been a while since I've had you on.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Also, the giant fucking Cretaceous era octopus, evidence of that being found in rock. I'm like, so the
Okay.
Kraken was real. It's just the cryptozoologist, are going to be pissed because it's not it existed at the time of the non-avian dinosaurs. So.
I did hear a massive dinosaur got uncovered somewhere in the world. Where was it again? I can't remember.
Yes.
I think it was definitely in Asia. It was definitely in Asia, wasn't it?
Oh
Pretty
god.
sure. There was this massive dinosaur had been uncovered somewhere in the park.
It was a sauropod.
Yeah, giant.
Brain has gone. It was because it was named after the snake, the mythical snake things from those areas.
Yeah.
My brain has gone completely blank.
It was a giant dinosaur, chap. Basically,
that's it. Nagasaur. I think it was Nagasaurus.
Nagasaurus. He must have
been
quite.
I don't know if you ever played World of Warcraft, but Naga.
Yes.
Like the Nagas were on that, like the snake creatures, and it seems to be that's derived from.
That's where they get it from. Okay. Okay, we're taking WoW references now, are we?
Mate, there have been dinosaurs named after fucking dragons from Game of Thrones. So
why not?
Answer David Attenborough.
Yeah, well, why not? And God bless Sir David Attenborough, still with us after 100 years old. Long may he continue in the day. I just want to say hello to Billy Kershaw, Indie Duck Mel in the chat, and anybody else who may be lurking as well. Guys, we're going to try and play. I'm going to try and play a video for us to have a listen to. So myself and Pagan have already watched it, and I kind of spoke a little bit about it, and it's about the jet fuel crisis, the jet fuel issue, and there's a lot of complications around it. And this is just kind of one analysis. It doesn't mean that everything that Sky News is telling us with this analysis is the truth, but it gives us an idea of just kind of how complex the situation is. So I spoke this morning about how frustrated I am that we are using Russian jet fuel going through via India in order for people to be able to have their holidays, essentially.
Technically, it's Russian oil being turned into jet fuel in India, but yeah.
So I'm going to try and play this video for you guys. If I know it's not the best screen, if you can't hear it, please let me know. Pagan, do let me know if you can't hear it as well, because I do think it's really, really important. This, and if you want me to pause at any time, Pagan, just tell me. All right. So this is Ed Conway's here explaining why the UK is easing sanctions on Russia, but it's only on two very specific things that they're easing sanctions on, which is according to them very important context. Go on, Pagan. Did you want to say something
before you start? I just want to say the title is a little bit misleading.
It is. Because it's actually only on. They're not even easing sanctions. They're continuing what they're already doing, but it's going to be at a higher pace because of the Strait of Hormuz being closed.
It's more of a case of the things that are being held off. It's a temporary thing to allow for the new sanctions to take place. So basically, they're giving their partners in India time to readjust before the new sanctions come in place. None of the old sanctions are being loosened. None of them.
Yeah, I do want. Yeah, like the thing is that let me play the video. Let's hear a bit of Ed Conway. Just do tell me in the chat if you guys can't hear it, because I really think this is important.
Has Britain, kind of for the first time since the invasion of Ukraine, suddenly reversed the severity of our sanctions regime? It's a big question. It's somewhat complex, but I'm going to take you through all of this in the coming minutes. But we're going to start in a slightly unexpected place, which is to ask this question, what's the background to this? And part of the background to this is Britain is really reliant on imports of various different types of fuels, but it kind of depends on the type of fuel. And that's all because the refineries in this country are set up to make particular types of things. So we've got actually a lot of capacity in this country to make petrol. And as a result of that, the amount of petrol we're making is above the amount of petrol we need. That's all this chart is showing you. The higher the line is, the more kind of self-sufficient we are. And that point there, kind of zero, is where we start to depend on imports. So petrol, going back for the last few years, always been pretty kind of self-sufficient in that. Diesel, a different story. So we used to be pretty self-sufficient for diesel, but over the years, as you've had more diesel cars and as we've had more refineries shutting down, which is critical as well, we've become more dependent on imported diesel.
But we should be becoming less sufficient on diesel anyway, shouldn't we? I mean, the idea is we're supposed to be transitioning away, but is it a case of that we've turned off these refineries too soon, and then we've ended up having to import them when we should have done more transitioning before switching off these refineries?
It's almost like Thatcher again, where instead of transitioning the miners out of the mines into new workplaces, she just shut them all. She just shut them down.
Yeah. It does feel a bit like that, yeah.
There is a direct comparable here. I've got to say. Also, diesel use more often than not, I think he'll go into this, is used by maritime and farmers. So fishermen, the navy and whatnot, come out. The barges and whatnot. Quite often they'll use diesel. I mean, I know that there are submarines that are diesel powered. So, but it does have to be said that in terms of cars, and well said, Billy. Hauliers in the US. So,
that's a massive problem for them right now.
I don't know about our hauliers here, but I do know that Rachel Reeves said something about hauliers in a relief package earlier today as well. So they're getting some relief on that front. And I think that's largely because of the diesel. But the worst one is the next one he's about to say.
But here's another critical thing. Jet fuel, we have always been really dependent on imports. As I say, it's just partly due to the nature of the refining system in this country. And we've got more and more dependent as time has gone by.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Pagan, but my understanding was Grangemouth was a producer of jet fuel. Is that correct?
I'm not entirely sure about that one.
I'm pretty sure that's what Viper Scott said to me. I think it was either this morning or yesterday.
If that's the case, then yeah. But again, it was a case of we were supposed to be moving away from these things, and I think the thing with Grangemouth had started under the Tories. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure on the entire details of why that went to shit.
Okay, that's I can understand that point of view. But here's the thing, right? Why, if we are transitioning, but jet fuel obviously is different because obviously one of the big things about jet fuel is obviously we're using it for flying, for tourists and bringing people in, people going out on holiday and that. Why would we reduce our sufficiency on jet fuel?
Well, if you look at the graph, it's been a steady downtick of it for a decade, for more than a decade. I mean, there was a little bit of an uptick around 2002 or around 2003. I wonder why that would be. Yeah, you can see how it upticks under Labour, under the last Labour government, right? I wonder why that would have been. Wonder what happened in 2003. I can't remember. Anyway, but you see how since the Tories and Lib Dems came in, it's just down, come up, maybe a little bit down again.
It ticked up a little
down.
bit, but then it dipped. Yeah, that big dip. Yeah, from
it's
2012.
down. It levels off down, and then levels off a bit down, down. So like over time, the usage has been going down anyway. Now it does have to be said. I do think the gap between 2018 and 2022, that might be a little bit anomalous because of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, that should be actually. That should actually have risen, shouldn't it have been? Because there would have been less flying.
Well, again, yeah, but we were still like we weren't. That doesn't necessarily mean that we were refined. You got to remember that before that we had more. We've had less and less refined anyway. So by the time we get there, that doesn't necessarily. And you've also got to remember that was also under Boris Johnson's government. Did he actually do anything for the country?
No, of course not.
So, what makes you think he would have boosted our jet fuel refineries? He was useless on so many. Even like that would have been good for the Conservatives as well. So that would have been a very conservative thing to do to boost jet fuel refinery. Yeah, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Same with the army.
Interesting. Let's let Ed carry on, guys. Sorry.
And we've got more and more dependent as time has gone by. And in fact, just to give you a sense of how dependent we're talking about, so that's showing us over time and our kind of degree of dependency. If you compare other countries around the world and just the sheer amounts in terms of tons of imports of jet fuel, look at the country that is right at the top. So Britain is the most dependent on jet fuel imports of any country in the world. So we're the most exposed right now. And of course, that raises the question, where does that jet fuel actually come from? And
why have we put ourselves in this situation when a lot of these countries, in comparison to us, we're an island? Of course we're going to need jet fuel. Why would we put ourselves in this situation? Like, not like I'm not just critical of the Conservatives and their time, but like this is multitudes of governments here. Now, obviously, I'm looking at it from an outside perspective. I don't fully understand this, but I'm thinking to myself from an outside perspective, like, why would we put ourselves in this situation?
I think it's a case of what are we able to do as the island that we are, because we might be an island, but we're also not the biggest island in the world.
Yeah,
and like with the global economy going the way it was looking like it was best for different countries to specify on different things, like to specify on different things. So they had a specialization, like it would give so it was part of the whole marketing. You can market your country if you've got a specialization in that certain area.
Yeah,
just like this is why we were good for services. This is why we've been so good on all the different services. We would like more than America. We had more trade on services than even America. Not quite so much now because of Brexit, but still. And since the global order has been switched on its head, and I would say that began in Trump's first administration. Slowly, the systems that the world thought they could run on, which is again what I said, different
free
countries,
trade and what sort
and
of
different
thing.
and not having to be self-reliant on everything in your own country because it was yeah. What Trump has done and what Putin has done and what Xi is doing and what other and what others have been trying to do, and especially with the Tories when they were in charge, has actually broken the order that was starting that was to a point working. I would say that I would still want to change that system, but the system in of itself was beginning to find some legs, and then Trump comes in the first time and then breaks it even worse the second time. But a part of that breakage you also got to remember is the Russian war in Ukraine. And the problem the UK has is we can't just go, right, we need to switch to somewhere else because, like, do we want to be more in hoc to the Americans? Like, get part of this deal with India of getting our fuel from India. At least in one, it's pragmatism. Two, it's partly trying to repair the historic damage that we did in relations with our relations with India.
Yeah,
right.
For obvious reasons.
And I don't think I added this to this story, but I'll just say it because this is related to this. We are in partnership with India to build massive solar farms with them in India to help them on the green transition.
I think you got a story here, haven't you? That will.
I didn't know if I put it up or not, but like
I think it's on the list. But if we'll come to it.
It's kind of related to this, where like, yes, they are taking Russian oil, and that's not great because we are allied with Ukraine. However, one, we can't just ignore the position that we're in for wanting to be in a different position, because like we're in the position we're in. We can't do anything drastically different at the moment. We haven't got the facilities to suddenly go, we can do only electric airplanes. That's not going to happen. We need that jet fuel.
No, I'm not arguing that we don't need that jet fuel. Because we will get to that point because he's going to show the graphs, of course. But like when I'm looking at this graph right now, like there's one country out of that list that is like that sticks out to me. It's just like I'm looking at Ireland and I'm like, okay, they don't fly as many planes as obviously the UK, but they're in the same geography area where we are. Obviously, New Zealand is obviously islands too, but I don't know what their situation is with regard to jet fuel.
You also got to remember their population is far smaller than ours.
That is a factor I've not considered as well, but it's really is it's a frustrating one because I feel like we've put ourselves in this situation when we shouldn't have. Anyway, let's keep playing because there's lots of other stuff we want to get into as well, chat.
Historically, most of it has come from the Gulf. Okay, so here we are at the moment. These are just in the past year the places where we get most of our jet fuel from. And look, you can probably see, I'll kind of highlight them so you can see the pattern here. The majority of it, so there's Kuwait, there's Saudi Arabia, there's the UAE. 60% of it comes from the Middle East. And of course, where are we at the moment? We're in a situation where you can't get most of that jet fuel out of the Middle East because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And therefore, we can kind of put that into transparent and ask the question, okay, if we can't get that stuff, where are we going to get it from?
Yeah, I'm looking at the other European countries, and it's just like Sweden and the Netherlands and Belgium on that list, and it's just like there's no way we could get it from them. There's no way we could get it from them because I was just going to say, but there's no way we could get it from them because not only would they need it for themselves, but they would share it with the other European Union as well. So if we were part of the EU, maybe we'd have a little bit more of a cut of jet fuel as being part of the EU, but we're on the outside.
Not only that, but they're obviously not making by this graph. Like,
it's not again, a lot. Yeah,
it's like again, we would have to rely on this other. I don't know what that. I don't. This is why I get pissed off.
It might be a combination of a bunch of countries that are producing something, and
I don't know.
That would be even more.
Does my head in when Sky News does that because they've separated other, and it's like, what does the other mean?
could you specify like what do you mean by
that?
Yeah,
but like. Yeah. After that, it's the US. Like, so do we want to be doing a partnership with India or the US? And like in the long term, I'd much prefer to do a deal with India than the US.
I'm just looking at that bar for Kuwait, and it's just like, damn.
Oh yeah.
And here's where things get kind of interesting, and we will get back to those sanctions. You'll see how this all ties in a moment, because it's worth talking for a moment about this. India, which has become a country which we've become more and more dependent on to get our jet fuel in recent years. Also diesel, more and more of it coming out of India. And it's worth saying that wasn't always the case. If you just look back, and you'll see, this is where it all ties in. If you look back a few years, certainly not the biggest, but one of the places we got a lot of diesel, certainly, and also quite a bit of jet fuel from, was Russia. And then, of course, you have the invasion of Ukraine. And that's when we imposed sanctions on Russia. And all of a sudden, you can see our imports from Russia go down to basically zero. But look at India. This is showing you, again, our imports of jet fuel from India back to 2015.
Could you pause that a second?
And at that moment that Ukraine has invaded.
I just wanted to share the bit where he shows the next bit. Let me pause it when he shows the next bit.
Yeah.
Look at what
I
happens
don't
to
want to see a bit
Indian
more
imports from
crafting.
India of jet fuel.
Okay, I'm going to argue with Ed here.
Go on.
Arguably, we've been getting more jet fuel from Russia since 2016, and that's only hasn't been the case twice, and once in 2019 and once in at the end of 2021. Right, the rest of the time we've actually got more of our jet fuel from India in the first place. Now, granted, he is right. That's blown up massively since we've stopped taking from Russia, but we were getting more from India than we were from Russia in the first place. So I have to argue with Ed on that one because he said the opposite before he started this.
But do you want to know why? Do you want to know what sticks out to me? It's 2016. What happened in 2016?
Brexit.
No. Russia annexed Crimea. I know it was,
That was 2014. That was
2014. Ah, it's 2014. Damn it! I thought that was the reason why we're taking more from India than Russia. Is because of that.
But like even then, like if you go back to the beginning of that graph, yes, it shoots up, and I think that yes, I agree with you. That probably starts with the Crimea bit. But from 2015 onwards, for the last 10 years, with only 2 anomalies, we've always been taking more than India for the last 10 years.
It would have been
so I have to argue. I do have to argue with Ed just a bit on this.
It would have been interesting to see from 2015 before Crimea to see what that graph would have been, because from the looks of it, it looks like we took nothing from.
Well,
we only started taking from India from 2015, according to their graph there, which is like, huh?
You've got to remember that after Putin took over, from about the year, just going roughly here, just estimating here, going from 1995 up till about 2008, 2010, Russia was actually, like the West was actually trying to interact with Russia so as to not make an enemy out of it in the future. Yeah, so you've got to remember that leading up to 2015 or 2014, 2015, we had been trying to get closer ties with Russia to make it so they wouldn't be an enemy in the future. Unfortunately, Putin had different plans.
He did. You can see how they go sharply higher. They go sharply higher. And it's worth asking the question, what's going on behind the scenes there? By the way, if you just look, and there's another way of kind of looking at this, this is just showing you that's what we were getting from India, not just in terms of jet fuel, but also diesel and other things. So not all that much before the invasion of Ukraine. Then Russia invades Ukraine. The sanctions, we impose those sanctions on Russia. And look, a big shift. So we're getting a lot more diesel. We're getting a lot more jet fuel in particular. That's the black bits there from India.
Yeah, it's mainly jet fuel there, but there's other stuff there that we are there, and this is why I think trade with India has become more and more important than ever before, hasn't it? I mean, it really, and this is where actually this is actually a problem with the government, because trying to negotiate with India when they want to send more of their workers to the UK. Because that's one of the things that they wanted to do, was have more migration of Indians being able to come to the UK, work and all that kind of stuff, and then come back and bring their knowledge, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, that's not something that the public perception of immigration is not something that they want. So, yeah, that's a bit of a problem there, isn't it? Because that's one of the things that India has always wanted from us, And
not only that, but like they do argue with us on environmental regulations as well. We've been trying that. This is part of the reason why we've been trying to work with them to speed up their green transition. But when it comes to related to this, I was watching something to do with F1 the other day. I'm a big F1 fan, but over the last 10, 15 years, they've been going hybrid. And then in the last in the last regs, they pushed for more electrification because it needs to, because they wanted to, you know, keep up with the road car manufacturers. However, just like with maritime and just like with air travel, it seems that we can't do as much. We're not at the technological level yet to be going that far with electrification. We need more development on that first. So unfortunately, and as you know, I'm someone who wants to see the green transition in full. We will have to still use oil and oil products for more than 50 years to come.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's the idea that we can completely switch off from it. I just don't ever see that happening. I don't even see that happening in my lifetime at all.
Especially with jet fuel.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening in my lifetime. I can see it reducing significantly in my lifetime, but can I see us completely off it? Absolutely not.
Well, that's what I mean. Like F1 is having to go over electrification is proving to be dangerous in the new regulation of F1 cars, right? Because more electrification, because it's more immediate power, you've also got to add that with the downforce, and it turns out the drivers aren't liking it at all. So the next regs, they're going to be moving back to less electrification with a V8 engine, and it's a similar concept with the maritime and air air services, where you got flights going out for holidays and whatnot, and you get cruises, you got the trade coming in through flights and through the maritime. So it's solar panels on planes, trains and stuff, that's fine, but it's the getting off the ground part where solar panels are of no use. Like that the solar powered plane that had no passenger, that had like, I think it only had one passenger in it. So you got to think, if you're thinking about this commercially, which the government has to, you know, think about holiday goers and stuff. None of our planes can be powered by solar panels. They need that explosive energy to get off the ground first.
Yeah, that's still a long way off. Trains though, trains are already electrified. You electrify the rail, to a point. So they're not as most trains nowadays have turned that way. I mean, we're still far behind, but I do find this conversation fascinating indeed.
Going on here, not all of it, but certainly a lot of oil that was otherwise going to the EU, and I'll show you that in a second, that was otherwise going to the EU before the invasion. Now, a lot of that oil has been going to India. Okay, so it's been going to India, and what happens in India? Obviously, the crude oil arrives, and it gets refined, and it gets refined in big refineries like this. This is actually the biggest refinery in the world, in Gujarat. So you have the refining happening, a lot of it happening here in India. Like I say, some of the biggest refineries in the world, extraordinary places. And then once it gets processed in those refineries, then it gets shipped out around the world, including to places like the UK. Now, you can ask the question, okay, if some of that, quite, a big proportion of that originally started as Russian oil, is that us importing stuff from Russia, albeit indirectly? Well, I think that's a legitimate question. And this is showing you where Britain has got its jet fuel from India. Actually, it's all oil products from India in the past. And how much of that, this is the red bit, how much of that potentially came from Russia originally? The molecules started in Russia.
Looking at that graph, that's not as much as is being passed about in the media, Like looking at that graph, we're still getting far more from else. Like where China and India are getting that oil from to make that aviation fuel is coming from elsewhere. Like, and by larger amounts than where it's coming from Russia, at least over the average. Like, I'm looking at that as a mathematician, and I'm sorry, but like again, some of this really does come across as a bit misleading. Like, oh, we're easing sanctions on Russia, and I'm like,
my criticism is that we are still indirectly, yes, okay, maybe it's not as much there, but we're still supporting Russia indirectly in a way.
It's not our fault that Russia is the largest supplier is one of the largest suppliers of that stuff.
I'm not
it's not
debating
the
that.
Labour government's fault. It's again the Labour. This is what I say about political realism, right? The Labour government has to deal with the situation as it is, not how they want it to be. And the situation as it is that they need the jet fuel to come in, and they really can't. They can't afford to be. There isn't much else places to get it for unless you want to pay more, which the government obviously doesn't want to pay more for that, for getting it from elsewhere, because they were already strapped as it is, because the Tories did the scorched earth policy. You know? I'm not a fan of this happening in the first place, but I can see the pragmatism in this, you know?
And we've been asking the question for quite a long time. You know, what does this say about the sanctions regime? Does it say that, you know, instead of actually stopping Russia from getting the revenue...
Go on, say that.
It's not just our sanctions regime. I mean, yes, the EU has their own sanctions regime, but different EU countries have been getting gas and oil from Russia. So, like, you know, like we're not the only ones to have been doing it, and that's because we haven't got a choice.
Yeah, like I said, we've put ourselves in a situation where we're relying so much on jet fuel, and we're not producing our own, or we're barely producing our own.
I would rather people not go abroad and, you know, do more holidays here in Britain. One, that would be better for local economies, and two, we'd save on fucking aviation fuel.
Do you know what we should be doing? We should be making our rail fares a lot cheaper and more efficient, so that people don't need to fly from London to Glasgow, so that they can have a reliable train service that can take them there, and it won't be cost, and it'll be cheaper.
I mean, again, at the very least, the freezing of rail fares was some relief, and I know this because I've asked my dad, and he works at Exeter St David's train station and has done for all of my life, which is 32 years. So he's clued into the situation when it comes to train fares, and even he's turned around and said that might not be the best relief in the world, but it's still a relief.
It is better than nothing, is what I've said to people, like, on it.
I'm not trying to excuse the sanctions.
No, I know you're not.
I was just talking. No. I was talking to Michelle. The fact that we're sanctioning Russia at the very least in the EU. Yeah, no, I'm not excuse the sanctions. The point is that Russian oil is going to make it out to places like India. We need to make sure we maintain friendly ties with India. If we start smashing those of the sanctions on India without giving them warning, without giving them time to adapt, then that kind of smashes our friendly relationships that we've been trying to grow with India.
EU,
no, I know.
Yeah.
I know, EU. But again, let's
talk about the video. Yeah, he's trying to.
Like I said, Ed Conway is usually really good with this stuff, but he's missing out a lot of other data in this. I've watched the entire video and he misses out different parts of the data that would add context to the situation.
It needs from that oil. We're just shifting around the global system and allowing other countries to basically launder that oil, but still a lot of the revenues end up in Russia. And you can make the case, this is showing you where Russian oil used to go before the invasion of Ukraine, most of it to the EU, then China, and India quite a long way down. I'll highlight India in green. You can make the case, instead of kind of freezing out Russia, you've just changed the geography of the global oil system. Look at India there. That's before the invasion of Ukraine. And look at where it goes more recently. Now, we've gone to a system where the EU is basically down at zero. Russia's still exporting loads of oil, but most of it's going to China and to India.
That doesn't necessarily mean that all that going from India, like we're not just talking about some of it coming possibly from Russia to the UK and the EU. It's other countries as well. India's going to be supplying other countries as well. So,
I mean, not only that, but what else was going to happen? We completely cut off our supply from Russia, right? And then this was always going to happen. Like, for nearly every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This was always going to happen.
But we didn't stop it. We've just moved We've just moved everything, which is what Ed Conway points.
But that's because oil and oil products are not luxury items. They are necessities in our global economy. Yeah. That's why you can't, unlike luxury items, which you would expect to be like, all right, we'll cut off and no other country will buy them anyway, right? No, like Russian oil is a large part of the oil global market. You cut that out, that's a massive portion of the oil global market gone.
That's why they implemented when the sanctions came on. They did it in such a way that the oil didn't disrupt the global markets of some sort, or minimize the disruption or something. Is that correct? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because they didn't want Russian oil to disrupt cutting it was to disrupt the markets, if I remember. Yeah.
He's not economically illiterate. He's quite often Ed's done quite good stuff, but I do think I will agree with you that
he does have some valid points. Yeah, Ed Conway, I will say that, but no one is always going to be 100% right. Let's put it that way.
I reckon his bias comes into some of his analyses as the problem.
Well, yeah, I mean he's from Sky News,
and we've been making that case for quite some time here on Sky News. We've been making the case that it's not just jet fuel. If you look at liquefied natural gas, a lot of that is still going to the EU. And we've been asking the question, is the sanctions regime actually as tough as the politicians have been saying? And here's where we get back to that question, because it's interesting.
I would argue yes, because time and time again, I constantly hear all the time about the struggles that Russian citizens are going through all the time, from not just from inside Russia, but other people who have knowledge within Russia, or from people from different parts. People are definitely struggling. Like, they paint a picture of, like, if they normally show like Moscow showing everything's normal, business is normal, people walking around like normal. But you go outside Moscow, chances are a lot of it is just trying to survive every day. Like, that's people are trying to survive every day. And the thing is that they're not allowed to say anything. They're not allowed to protest. They're not allowed to speak out. And we all know why they're not allowed to speak out or say anything. There was this talk recently about Russian citizens are going to turn on Putin. I'm like, no, they aren't. They know what happens if they did. They saw what happened the last time they did. And it's just like, I can't see them doing it.
It does have to be said that even the Russian-backed state news company has reported that Putin's popularity is falling, I was quite surprised to find that one out. The state-owned news company is saying.
Have you heard what some of the Russian influencers are? The pro-Russian war influencers have done. They've changed the tune from. They've started saying that it's not Russia's war, but Putin's war.
Ooh.
But they're not going. They're not saying they're against the war, but they've started changing the phrase from Russia's war to Putin's war.
I think that I mean, not only that, but with Ukraine now basically taking the advantage when it comes to drone warfare, which they definitively have now. The Russians are starting to feel that hurt.
Guys, we might go a bit longer today because obviously we're taking up a lot on this video today, just because I do think this is worth discussing about.
Interestingly, just last October, the government came out and they said, okay, we've listened to a lot of these concerns and we're changing things. We're going to tighten the implication. We're going to tighten all of the restrictions on
I want to wait for Pagan to come back because these are very key points of what they actually say in the on the government press release here, just so you can see
by natural gas going around Europe. We're going to make it so that, look at this, UK ramps up sanctions. This was just in October. We're going to make it so that, I'll zoom in so you can see, so that we will be imposing restrictions on imports of products refined in third countries from Russian origin crude oil. In other words, this is the clause that says we are worried about all of that Indian oil, not just India, some from Turkey as well, but particularly Indian oil, and we're not going to take it in the future. So that's what they said. But then, of course, we all know what's happened next. We've had the events in the Middle East. You've had the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. You have big concern in this country, look over there, that we don't have enough stocks of jet fuel. And of course, we're really dependent on imports. And you've seen what's happening in the market for holidays at the moment and for flights. Flights are being cancelled across the UK.
My flight was not cancelled, by the way. When I had my flights to Glasgow and back, like I kept asking, like, because I was going with my parents, because my dad booked the flights, and in the run up to this, I kept saying to him, like, "You're not hearing anything? No, it's all fine." Yep, and it was all fine.
I mean,
so
looking at that, I'm not surprised I haven't heard anything because Exeter has had no change, Bristol has had no change, and Southampton has had no change. So, yeah.
Why is it all Birmingham?
Why is it? What's going on with Bromley?
It feels a bit discriminate there. Sorry, it sounds a little bit discriminate there.
It's all up north. Well, for me, it's all up north. Even London City's up north for me.
Oh, well, no. Maybe, no. Hold on. That might be flights to the Middle East, maybe.
Oh, well, don't forget World Cup. There's a lot of cancellations due to the World Cup.
Possibly as well. Possibly it did.
Because of Trump.
And the government is very concerned about what's going to happen in the future. Does that trump what's happening in Ukraine? Does that trump the sanctions regime? Well, that's the question worth pondering, because we just had, in the past 24 hours, this, I mean, it will look complex, but actually it's quite simple. Basically, it's saying, it's a general trade license, and I'll highlight the bit that matters here. It's saying that there are certain items that the Russian regulations do not apply to, particular things. So the sanctions don't apply to particular things. And what are those things that the sanctions apply to? It's to jet fuel and diesel that have come via third countries.
It's pragmatic. It's not. I don't like it either. But again,
as you said, you said the situation where it's like,
we're
gonna everything else, yes, but just not these two guys because, well, we kind of want to keep the holidays going. So,
well, it's not Don't forget that if they didn't do that, that would affect our UK economy.
Yes, I think it would.
So, like they have had. This is a case of they have had to do this, or they would have been. I mean, they're already fucking having problems. They'd be up complete shit creek with that paddle if they didn't do this.
I honestly would have. I don't know. Like he's saying they're reducing regional flights. Now, I obviously haven't looked into it, but I would assume that you would reduce the amount of regional flights in the UK. I would have assumed that's what you would do in this situation. I don't know if we've done that, but I would have looked into doing that.
Yeah, but you also got to remember the politics side of it, which is that Labour are already unpopular.
Yep.
So if they did that, that would make it. If they did that, that would make them even more unpopular.
Well, EasyJet have already said they're going to be increasing their fares, as did Ryanair. So, happy days, I suppose.
In other words, precisely that thing I showed you a moment ago that they were going to clamp down on, they're now saying, at least for diesel and for jet fuel, we're not going to be doing that. And you know the reason why, because you've seen those charts. You've seen how dependent Britain is on that stuff. You've seen how much of that comes from places like India, originally starting as molecules that began coming out of the ground in Russia. But here's why this really matters. This is showing you how much money the Russian government, so the Kremlin, is making from oil. It's just the revenues coming into their coffers from oil and gas. And up until quite recently, so February of this year, they've been coming down. So it was doing worse and worse and really struggling as a result, making less and less money, getting down to the lowest level in 6 years.
And thanks to Donny, it's going to go back up again. Nice one, President Trump. You fucking wanker. Sorry,
if you want to blame anyone, don't blame this guy. If you want to blame anyone for if the Ukrainians want to blame anyone for this, blame Donald.
Blame Trump. Yeah, absolutely.
But you probably know where this is heading right now. I mean, those numbers, by the way, are very kind of correlated with what's happening to the oil price. So that line is the oil price. The blue bars are how much money they're making from it in the Kremlin. And that is what happened to the oil price later when we saw the events in the Middle East. And lo and behold, the Kremlin has really started to make a lot of money just in the last few months. So that's the latest month for which we have data for. And it is now starting to make the most money it has in 2 years. And that is before these changes to the sanctions regime have actually kicked in.
Yeah, but what's it down to, mate? What's it down to, Ed? What's it down to? What's it down to, Ed? What's it down to? I'll tell you, Trump. He's not saying it, though. This is what pisses me off for Sky News. Like, these graphs are great, but like...
Context!
Oh, gods.
Fuck you, Trump. Seriously. Like, it's going, like, the thing is that Russia have been on the back foot. Yeah, I really felt like...
They are on the back foot.
Yeah, but this could turn things. The money could be used to develop the technology that Russia needs to counter Ukraine's advanced technology.
Maybe, but you've also got to take into consideration the other aspects which are leading them to having problems with their economy. It's not just money.
Yeah, there is a lot of other factors, to be fair.
You got to remember they're losing workers more than they're like for their economy for this to mean anything really for the Russians. They need the workers in the factories to do the shit for them, and they're sending those workers off to the front lines.
He can't send them to the front. He can't send them to the front lines because there's no point sending them to the front lines if there's no one to make the weapons.
But he's already said that he's moving towards more conscription. So yeah,
he's not gonna have a fucking population. I mean, he's just gonna keep calling Kim Jong-un. Can you send me no North Korean soldiers? I know there was a story not too long ago where they've been stealing a lot of citizens from parts of the world, offering
Africa,
riches, and people have been from the poorest places, countries, and nations in the world. People have been offered riches to go to Russia, and they go there and they don't come back.
You're trapped and conscripted. Yeah, a lot of them are African. There are quite a few from Southeast Asia. Yeah. I mean, you think the damage they're doing at the moment. Now, one of the stories I sent to you was tangentially related to the Russia-Ukraine war. In that it's related to Ukraine.
Which one was it? We can go straight to it. What was it called?
The Chernobyl one.
Oh, yes, that was actually the first one on our list. So let me put that up for us, chat. But yes, let us know what you guys think about that in the chat. I thought it was an interesting one indeed. So yes, Chernobyl disaster zone has more wildlife than Ukraine's reserves. Explain. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play stupid for a second here because I'm like, what does this headline mean? Sorry, I'm confused.
So, you know how we have wildlife reserves?
Yeah.
So does Ukraine. You remember a while back I said that the largest wolf pack in all of Europe was in in the area around Chernobyl, as the Ukrainians would prefer it to be said, right? And I think that's largely due to the fact that there is so little human activity around the area. Purely that.
It's not going to play, guys. Would have been nice to have played, but I think it's it's a bit too stuttery because of the because I'm playing this while also trying to play the video. So I wanted to play the video to show it, but I can't, guys. I'm afraid. Let's read a bit into this. So, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster zone, sealed off to humans for 4 decades, supports more wildlife now than any formerly protected nature area in northern Ukraine, according to a new study. The radioactive landscape, too dangerous for human life, now boasts some of the world's wildest horses, wolves, and Eurasian? Is it? Eurasian lynx. Researchers deployed 174 camera traps across 60,000 square kilometers of northern Ukraine between 2020 and 2021 and captured nearly 31,000 animal sightings involving 13 mammal species. The exclusion zone alone accounted for 19,832 of these sightings, more than 63% of the total, and was the only site where all 13 species appeared. The Cheremsky, I can't say it, sorry, nature reserves, a formerly designated wildlife protected area, recorded only one.
Ooh.
Researchers believe that the size of the area and the strictly enforced restrictions on human access are the main reasons for it being more conducive to wildlife than areas with formal conservation status. Yeah, if you take, it's I think it's pretty fair to say, if we take human life out of a certain area, wildlife is going to blossom because humans are not constantly disturbing it.
Well, look what happened with COVID. Like as soon as people stopped fucking traveling everywhere and locked indoors, the level of bird song just increased. The amount of birds, the amount of wild birds that were born just in Devon during the pandemic were entirely boosted a year into it than they were before the pandemic. So like people think that you like because it's radioactive, like you get as Kevin's made a joke of here, like lupus glowus of near gender. No, like they're because their lifespans are actually shorter than ours. The effect on their genetics is actually somewhat lessened.
It says protective areas are most effective when they are large and contagious, and human access restrictions are actively enforced, notes the study. The exclusion zone was created after a reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded on the 26th of April 1986, scattered radioactive contamination across Europe, and forcing the evacuation of nearby towns. The area... I wasn't going to say that word. The area was designated a reserve by Ukraine in 2016 and is known as the Chernobyl Radiation and Ecological Biosphere Reserve. It covers roughly 2,600 square kilometers. The near total absence of human activity allows species that were locally extinct before disaster to return. Brown bears, absent from the region for more than a century, recolonized the zone, while wolves and lynx re-established populations across both Ukrainian and Belarusian parts of the exclusion zone.
That's just nice. It's nice to see the brown bear back.
Yeah, I can't. Brown bears, indeed. Horses. I'm not saying that first word. You can say it.
That's Przewalski's horses.
There you go. Native.
Przewalski's horses, technically, because I think it was a Polish speaker who named them.
And native to Mongolia and genetically distant from domestic breeds, were introduced to the Ukrainian zone in 1998 and 1999, with an initial population of 23 animals. By 2021, they had reached 120. They have since dispersed beyond the zone into Belarus and across the Peryap River. So it's basically exploded the population.
Yep.
And it kind of had, when the population, when too much is in one area, obviously they're going to migrate to other places. So
it used to be found across the steppe. It used to be found all across the steppe. And now, like, again, you can really find them in Mongolia. And then, over the past 20, 30 years, Przewalski's horses have been reintroduced to different parts of the steppe. From Mongolia all through Russia, different parts of Russia anyway, into Ukraine. So it's good to see that here their numbers really are boosted.
Yeah, it's a shame I couldn't. It's a shame there's not photos to see. I don't know if the video would have. I can't remember if the video showed wildlife or not. It would have been nice to have seen it, you know.
But the point is that this is one of the reasons why Ukraine has to be defended, which is why I relate it to the war.
The wildlife gap between the exclusion zone and the protected area was stark. Eurasian lynx were nearly 4 times more likely to be present in the exclusion zone than the ravine and the
Reeves and Kremsky reserves.
Kremsky reserves. Wolves and red foxes followed a similar pattern, both being far more prevalent in the exclusion zone than anywhere else in the studied area. Unprotected land in northern Ukraine fared no better than many of the designated reserves nearby. Quote, non-protected areas had species competition and occupying values similar to small-sized protected area. The latest study points out adding to similar reserves may merely be too small to sustain permanent abundant populations of species with extended home range. The study did not assess the effects of radiation on wildlife population, citing prior research from the Belarusian part of the exclusion zone that mammal distribution was unaffected by Cassidium's 137.
Cesium 137, yeah. It's one of the main pollutant, radioactive pollutants being pushed out by the reactor number 4.
Forest fire burning the exclusion zone. Is that because of a Russian strike though? That's probably
I wouldn't surprise me, if I'm honest. Like, because I had heard the area around Chernobyl had been hit by Russia earlier in the invasion as well.
Yeah, I've heard the odd times, and everyone's basically screamed at Russia, basically saying, "Will you leave the area alone?" Basically,
yeah. This is why I've been worried about the walls in Chernobyl, because they're, you know, it was, for a scientist, it was Chernobyl was the perfect place to study. And as an eco warrior, like it's the largest pack of wolves in Europe. I want them to survive.
However, the conditions sorry, go on. Finish your point. No, please finish your point.
I don't just, when it comes to Ukraine, I don't just want, you know, the people to be saved. I want their land to be saved. And by the land, I mean the fauna and the flora, the animals and the plants. There are landscapes that they have there that we don't.
Yeah, there is some. Yeah, Ukraine is before the war, before it all kicked off. Ukraine was very, very beautiful. Especially, I've watched I can't remember who it was, but I remember watching a YouTube video where someone showed the before and after of a city, and it was just absolutely beautiful, you know. However, conditions in the region have changed sharply since the research was conducted. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022 brought military activity through the exclusion zone and the protective areas along the border with Belarus. Fires linked to military operations have swept through the zone's forests, risking radioactivity particles getting back into the air.
Sorry, yeah, I'll let you finish.
No, carry on, because I need to. I'm getting reflux right now.
Kev, they're still worried about the long-term effect of chromosome damage by radioactivity and the mutations. Again, it does have to be noted that their lifespans are far shorter than ours. And not the big one I have to point out actually with that one is that the radiation isn't uniform. Like it's not like it's spreading out in a uniform way from the reactor. If that makes sense. Like it's stronger in certain areas than others, and some areas around it have no radiation at all, which I thought was really weird the first time I saw that. But you know that. You do have to remember that it's not like the coverage of radiation within the area around Pripyat and Chernobyl as a whole is not uniform. which is also why some humans have actually managed to survive in the area into their old age, I have to say.
So I just finished. I just had to take a little Gaviscon tablet in case anyone's wondering why I was, because my reflux is kicking up again. Civilian monitoring and research activities have been severely restricted across the border since the war began. Publishing from 12 countries and in 6 languages. The Independent. Oh no, that's just that's just the Independent there. So
yeah, like I'm. This is good news, and this is one of the big reasons why this war with Russia needs to be brought to an end. And the more that Russia suffers, the faster this war will be brought to an end.
But it's positive to see that life has blossomed. And let's hope there's not. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whenever the war does end, like what reports show of how much of the war affected that area, how much of wildlife has been affected. I think that would be interesting to see. But it's kind of hard to gauge at the moment while there's conflict taking on. I do imagine there's probably people looking into it while the conflict is taking place. But obviously, it has to be with a degree of danger, indeed, of course. Another story, like I said, guys, we're going to try and get through as many stories as we can. So we might go a little bit longer. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So this is another one, which is kind of related to what we were talking about anyway, because Pagan touched on it a bit earlier anyway. So here, and that is the UK and Denmark have launched a $300 million Indian green energy project here. This is the what you were referring to earlier about the trade deal with
Well, at the very least, it's us trying to work with India on their green transition. In the process, repairing at least some of the, damage trying to help repair some of the damage we did to Indian society for over 100 years.
Yes. Yeah, because of course. But I think it's a quite. I guess that's the other thing is it's just India has such a huge population, but the thing is transitioning to that energy. Like, yes, they do have a bigger mass of land, but how much of that can they actually turn? Yeah, how much of it can they actually turn to desert? I mean, or what do they have the money for it? And this is where the UK and Denmark are coming in to help subsidize some of that, possibly. And that's probably
their economy is starting to properly boom. And I'm not happy that we have to work with Narendra Modi, but the point is we're not working with Narendra Modi, we're working with India. And we're working to help, because you've got to remember that India is still a place where they use a lot of oil, they use a lot of gas, and use a lot of coal. But just like China, they are trying to move away from it. I think India has its own nuclear reactors, and they're trying to make more. So if we can help them with doing this, helping them do this, by the way, helps them deal with their, with their growing economy as well. Like they're going through.
They should be riding more elephants and using more donkeys and carts. I think. Yeah, that's definitely what they should be doing more of.
That's mean on the animals, man.
Yeah, to be fair, it's a bit harsh on the animals. I would say, man, it's actually funny because literally it kind of just reminds me of the old days in Ireland, like when my granddad in Ireland, and he was always donkey and cart and all that kind of stuff there, and he obviously he grew up in that world, and then obviously near the end of his life he saw the transition to roads and everything. So it's quite a change, if you see how society has changed from when he was young to what it is now. So just off topic there. But Billy Kershaw says India is going to run out of reliable water. Glacial retreat.
To a point. You also remember that India I think India borders 2. At least it has within its area. It has 2 mountain ranges. I cannot remember what the southern one's called right now. It's going to do my head in, but it's got the Himalayas like to its northern border, right? And yes, whilst those glaciers are retreating, there's also plenty of groundwater underneath. And there are some areas of India. India is not uniform with its population across the country. There are areas of the country that are a lot emptier than others. I mean, I did mention the desert earlier.
Well, it's because they'll be all more to the city and to capital and whatnot, because that's where the money is. Because out in the rural areas, it's like literally everywhere in society. Out in the rural areas, there's no money. I mean, unless they get Starlink and they get access to the internet, maybe. But
I really, what I want to see as something else that Britain and other countries can do with India is with the cleaning up of the rivers. Yes, there are no. We have a problem with that ourselves, but it's not that we don't know how to deal with it. It's the will behind it. India has a lot more need to do it because its rivers are far more polluted than ours. We have a serious problem with pretty much all of our rivers being polluted in this country. However, they're not polluted to the extent that some of the rivers are in India.
Yeah, I don't know if I covered it with you, but I covered it when we talked about the bathing waters. They're going to be switching them all into designating them bathing waters as a means to force the government to take action on them. Which I don't like, the fact that they have to kind of designate them as bathing waters to say to the government, "Hey, I can't swim here." No, it should be the case of you should be sorting this out, even if they're not designated as bathing water sites. But that's another story for another day. Let's talk about it. So the UK's Development Finance Institution and a Danish global fund manager on Tuesday launched a project to support India's clean energy transition. So the British International Investment, the BII, joined hands with Copenhagen's infrastructure partners, that's CIP, for the $300 million renewable energy platform, North Star, that will invest across solar, wind, and hybrid, as well as storage projects. The BII and CIP, through the Growth Market Fund 2, that's the GMF 22, 11, or I'd say 22. I'm getting mixed up there. Yeah, sorry. Will each commit up to $150 million for the platform, designed to access the funding gap required to build and scale renewable projects in India and crowd in additional private capital. So essentially, this is also an appeal to saying to private companies, if they go to this, hey, we'll prop you up and you can make some money. Try to appeal to private companies, because obviously we want companies to put their money in and say, hey, you could make some money out of this, building and and whatnot. It's just getting it's for these. It can be difficult sometimes getting private companies to get into it, as long as they get something back in return, or they have quite strong assurances they're going to get something back in return. So that's it. It can, you would think that the incentive is there, but how much of that incentive is there?
BII's British, the UK's Development Finance Institution, and CIP, not ICP, but CIP is the Danish Global Fund Manager.
Oh yeah, ICP. I said supposed to have said CIP.
I was going to say ICP. That's insane clown posse.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of initials that they put in here. So yeah, this marks the first investment made through the British Climate Partners. It's another one there, BCP, a £1.1 billion climate finance initiative launched by BII last month as part of its new 5-year strategy. So it says, quote, British Climate Partners is about mobilizing industrial capital at scale to accelerate the energy transition in developing Asian economies, including India, where the need and opportunity are the greatest. Building on Bill's extensive experience in BII, in both energy investing and India, the launch of the North Star reflects the country's strong renewable growth, supported policy momentum, and the role catalytic capital can play in delivering clean power at pace, he said. North Star is expected to generate more than 4 million megawatts of clean energy annually and avoid about 4 million tons of carbon emissions each year. That's quite a bit. That's quite a lot of carbon emissions to avoid if, and that's hypothetically, if they can pull this off.
Yeah, it's good. This is good.
Peter Janik,
Siontov.
partners are in CIP's Growth Market Fund, said India is one of the most important renewable energy markets globally. Partnering with British international investments, allowing us to build on our existing India investments and combine deep local insight with global investments expertise to accelerate project delivery and support build out of renewable energy infrastructure at scale. Let's just say Bill's British Climate Partners, it's not Bill's. The BCP is designed to mobilize large-scale industrial capital into climate solutions across fast-growing and coal-dependent economies in Asia, including India, as well as the Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian countries. There's just one problem with some of these nations here, and that is that their environments are a bit difficult to build these kind of projects. Like, so some of them, like, how are you able to build them in certain areas? Like the Philippines, for example, like they suffer a lot from, like, is it hurricanes or typhoons? Like really high wind storms.
Yeah,
like,
typhoon. Monsoon season.
Yeah, so like, can they really build a wind farm out there without it getting destroyed? Like, just
they have to do something.
Like...
They not only that, but the people within the people that live in that part of the world, once they're educated on how that works, they end up making their own tweaks because of where they live. I've seen some weird ass shit about, I've seen, European bikes being given to a Filipino guy, and he comes up with some random better idea on how to make it so that the chain doesn't fall off, or how to turn it into an electric bike. Like they are really the ingenuity in that part of the world is brilliant. And you got to remember that because they are you can say the same thing about the inventors from Scotland. They lived in a harsh part of the world, and harsh living breeds inventive minds through necessity. Which is part of the reason why I think that the US and the UK has gone down a little bit.
Well, obviously it's not there's not too much information about it, but let's just hope that it actually, in the long term, I mean, obviously there's a lot that can happen between now and some of that there, but it's good to hear these kind of things. It's a case of how much of it is actually going to be put into action, because we hear a lot about money and we're going to be doing these projects. It's how much of it actually gets going, how many projects actually not just say they're going to agree to it and actually put the spades down and actually start building on them.
I mean, just based off the trend of these things happening around the world now, I would say it's more likely yes. Because again, like we spoke, was it in the last one where the trend is against Trump. Trump is trying to bang the drum on the fossil fuels, but the trend is against him.
Yeah,
I don't actually fear Trump so much on the green energy front anymore, because when you look at the global trend, even China is moving away from it.
Yeah, but Trump's an idiot.
Yeah, but there was a point where he was starting to convince other world leaders, including in the more right-wing parts of Europe, that green energy was not the way to go. And now China is proving our point.
Yeah, and this is at the same time where there's certain reform councillors and politicians that literally have solar power, renewable energy, and they don't even realize it. That's helping them.
Yeah.
Speaking of animals, because we mentioned animals earlier on as well, guys. It's a nice one you've got here. I like this one from the BBC. So a boost to bird numbers after reserve restoration here. This is a lovely story. More than 800 black-headed gulls were recorded in Essex in 2025. I love this. We need this is more. We need more stories like this, Pagan. This is what we need more.
I did try looking for more good stories, but we're in the world we're in.
hey, just even if it's only one's good story is better than no good stories. Let's put it that way, guys. So, an increase in bird population following restoration work carried out at a nature reserve in Essex is very positive signs, a wildlife charity has said. Essex Wildlife Trust has released results of its annual breeding bird survey. It revealed that there had been a record number of black-headed gulls spotted at Blue House Farm at Nature Reserve in North Farnbridge, and an increased number of Mediterranean gulls and, I can't say that, shovelers?
That's good.
Shovelers.
The Mediterranean gulls is good because that means that the migration patterns are still going. That's really good. That means that the migration patterns aren't just still going, but they're reinforcing. They're starting to reinforce themselves again. That is really good news.
Stuart Brooker, the Trust Senior Conservation losing my word, said that the survey meant conservationists could identify which species need our help. So to see birds responding well on reserves and having the restoration projects over the past few years is a very positive sign, he added. Blue House Farm recently benefited from large wetland projects, and this year 879 black-headed gulls were spotted across Essex, and 586 of these were recorded at the Blue House Farm. In 2023, 411 of them were recorded in the country, 177 of which were at the North Farnbridge site. The gulls are on an amber list of species, which are moderate conservation concerns. That is a beautiful
I used to see them a lot. I used to see them a lot here. I used to see the black-headed gull in the summer. Like they're black. They kind of during the winter they lose their black head. It turns white, and you see they just like they've got two black ears. They like two black dots for ears almost. But in the summer, their black head becomes more obvious. We used to see them a lot here in Torbay in South Devon. I do still see them, but nowhere near as much. So this is really fucking good sign.
So, however, Mistle thrush, turtle dove, and yellowhammer have all seen their numbers fall after the first and second year of surveying, and the number is yet to recover. Species recorded for the first time this year includes goldeneye at Thames Site Nature Discovery Park. I wonder where they got the name goldeneye from. Grey wagtail at Aubrey Buxton Nature Reserve near Stansted Mount Fitchett. I think I first said that right. Ruddy shelduck at Blue House Farm, and short-eared owl at Lower Ray Pits Nature Reserve near Rochford. In the 4 years since its monitoring program began, the charity has recorded 123 species in total. There is not enough data to determine the full trend around bird populations, spokesperson added. So this is what they got here. Essex most spotted bird breed in 2025 here.
Wood pigeon.
The blue tit. I like the blue tits. I've seen blue tits. I don't see them. I don't see them where I live, but I have seen them where my parents live. They're definitely where my parents live because there's a lot more. Well, because they're a bit more. Because that's it's a lot more nature out there. Obviously, where I am is not a bit more. It's London-esque, isn't it? So it's kind of harder. But yeah, I love seeing the blue tits in that bird in my parents' garden every time. Yeah, they're lovely little birds.
One of the reasons
and the robin can't go wrong with the robin. Every time I see a robin, lovely.
Starlings, you still see starling flocks down here.
Yeah, black carp. I've seen a fair share of black carps as black cap. Sorry, as well. Yeah. So
we all know
wood pigeon. I don't. Every now wood pigeon. Yeah, I still see the fair share of wood pigeon.
See, people people get really weird, like because they'll see this weird type of pigeon in the woods. So that's a really skinny, weird looking pigeon. That's just because it's a wood pigeon. And they're like,
yeah,
what the fuck is a wood pigeon? I'm like, well, you've got city pigeons, like but then you've got an urban pigeons, but then you get your wood pigeons, and like they're not. Why aren't they so fat? Because they're not living around us, feeding on our rubbish.
Yeah,
but like one. Of the
that's a nice one.
That one of the things I think was a reason for the chiff chaff. Yeah, it's a bird. I think it's a type of finch. the one of the reasons I think for the fall in population of the black-headed gull has been the fucking herring gull. Everyone calls a seagull. There's no such thing as a seagull, but like it's the one dinosaur I can't fucking stand is the herring gull, and they've got good fucking reason. They're like it's another reason why we've seen less birds of prey as well. Is because of the overpopulation of herring gulls, and that's our fault because of our littering.
Yeah, are these the same ones that poach food from people as well?
Do you remember the Steve the seagull? It was from a seagull from Paynton here in Paynton. Is famous because he kept wandering into the co-op. I know exactly where that co-op is as well.
It's like you can't go to the seaside and literally get yourself chips anymore and just go for a walk because they're not afraid to get aggressive with you at all. Like because the thing is, like once you start flapping your hands and whatnot, you'll drop it, and that's when they know you're gonna let it go, and it's like
fucking hate them. I love dinosaurs, but that is one dinosaur I don't like. I like the cassowary more than that bastard.
All right, guys. So this next story we got for you guys is from Greenpeace, and this is a very concerning one indeed. Of course, here. So 41 people have been arrested for confronting pesticide giant making bee-killing chemicals here. I haven't read this one too much, but did you want to just give a bit of insight into this? I mean, obviously the headline itself saying bee-killing chemicals is kind of a bit of a giveaway of just how problematic this is.
I mean, the problem here for the government is they can't just shut these places down if they've got contracts with the government. Because the government's if the government just stops its contracts with these people, then it proves itself to be more unreliable, which the Labour Party is. The latest Labour government has been trying to repair the reputation of. So yeah, but I mean, I'm completely with them. I'm completely with the protesters here.
Were you saying about the contract? Is this because of a contract that a Conservatives signed before, and then Labour have come in and kind of like, well, we can't cancel the contract. We have to kind of fulfill
it's like it's like where people keep saying, "Oh, we shouldn't completely nationalise like the water companies and stuff." It's like, well, you can't just cancel the contracts that the private companies have got with the government. That's called stealing. And it's one of the reasons why, it's one of the things that pisses off other countries if the other countries have a stake in that, So the Labour, I agree with these protesters because they needed to get in the news.
So 41 people, including Greenpeace, the UK campaign director, have been arrested today, which was yesterday. Sorry, my stomach is really playing up, guys.
Do you want me to read it? I'll read it.
Yeah, do you mind reading it? Yeah, because I'm...
So 41 people, including Greenpeace's UK's campaign director, have been arrested today following a peaceful blockade that shut down the UK headquarters of the global pesticide company Syngenta, maybe, in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire. Greenpeace has accused Syngenta of driving wildlife decline and threatening UK food security by making and selling pesticides that poison British wildlife. New Greenpeace analysis of official data reveals today that just 1 teaspoon of the Syngenta-made pesticide hallmark is enough to kill 13 million bees. Fuck's sake. Its active ingredient, lambda chylothorin, has also made and sold by Syngenta, is by far the most used insecticide on arable land in the UK, with 6.9 tons of it applied over 1 million hectares in 2024 alone. So in 2024 alone, they're just taking a recent year as an example there, and that's an area more than 6 times the area of London.
Aren't we already having a struggle with the bee population in England already as it is?
Yes.
So
the government are moving to. I will admit that I will say the government are moving on pesticide legislation. I think they did already pass some through in the last after the last King's speech, but or in the last parliamentary session, I should say. But from what I've been hearing, they're planning to bring stronger ones through, but obviously not fast enough because, I mean, Greenpeace have got a legitimate protest here.
Yeah. So it says, as well as being deadly to bees, lamp bear. That word, sorry, is classified as a highly hazardous pesticide, very toxic to aquatic life, and a forever chemical PFAS, which means it's highly persistent in the soil and can accumulate in the food chain. So it stays in the soil long after you've sprayed it as well. So it doesn't disappear. Insecticides like this also starve birds and mammals like hedgehogs and depriving them of their food source. I mean, the actions follow Greenpeace UK Greenpeace UK report Our Poisoned Land published last week, which warned that intensive pesticides and fertilizer use is pushing UK wildlife and ecosystems on the brink. The report revealed that the commonly eaten British fruit and veg are routinely sprayed with over 100 pesticides before reaching the plate.
I mean, you can be as picky as you like about it, but yeah.
So what did they exactly do to get arrested? Like, I mean, did they what? They shut?
It depends how much they blocked it up, and if they're causing a business to. I think there's something you've got to remember that the Tories brought in loads of stuff, and Labour, whilst they have, and I'm not going to argue with people about this, but Labour have actually been removing some of that legislation. They've not been able to remove all of it because guess what? They've had to put forward loads of other legislation.
So people cannot protest. No, it's not that they can't protest. It's what they've basically done is basically tried to stop production in there. And the thing is that it's like, well, you know, going on to like they're not allowed access on the site and whatnot, and they're obviously trying to shut it down, trying to stop process and whatnot.
They got every right to, by the way. I have no arguments with the protesting of itself, but protesters know what they're getting into when they do it.
Yeah, like it's like you're going onto private property, you know, and you're not going to be
sent away for. They're not going to be sent away for like 5 years or whatever because
this ain't Palestine. This ain't Palestine protest.
Not only that, but our prison population is already full anyway.
Yeah, and the next story is something that we are all concerned about, and I literally moaned about this morning when we were covering the weather forecast.
I've got my cloak on and everything, so it makes it look like I'm.
You've got your coat on, mate. It's gonna be, dude. I'm gonna be wearing vest on live streams at the rate we're going. So the headline is: if this stupid advert wasn't in the way, UK urgently needs a maximum working temperatures. UK urgently needs a maximum working temperatures to survive extreme heat. Yeah, guys. So we're gonna boil to death. So it looks like the weather forecast is gonna be. They're forecasting this upcoming heat wave is going to be lasting quite a bit. I don't know how long it's going to last before we finally get some respite. But we're going to have some heat waves for quite a good several days. And pretty much I would say we'll start feeling it. Pretty much, if we're not already feeling it, we're going to start feeling it in the next few days. Literally.
It's a super El Nino event this year, so.
And Monday, I think it's going to be very, very hot. It's going to be very, very hot.
It's 17 degrees down here today, and I refused to go outside.
And you're going to struggle to sleep because that heat is going to be there overnight as well. Which is why, as I said on this morning's live stream, and I'm going to say this here to people who are watching, if you haven't got fans, go get fans. If you haven't got hot water bottles to fill with cold water, do that now. Do that. If you haven't got bottles of water in the fridge, Make sure you're doing that. Put socks in the fridge, not the freezer. You can wear them before you go to bed. That will help as well. Make sure you have a bottle of water by your bedside, even if it's not cold, because it will just help. Go on,
A tip
Pagan.
from me, if you got, and this is something I learned from initially from Brainiac, but I learned more about it through science. But if you're holding something cool, and you keep holding something cool, like your blood will circulate through your hands back up your arm, and will actually cool your blood down over time. Has actually been scientifically measured to be true. That also works if you put your feet. I don't know if you know what I mean, but by like a washing up tub that you put in your sink, a plastic tub you put in your sink instead of marking up the metal sink, so you put a plastic tub in it instead.
Okay.
Like, or any kind of plastic, or any kind of like plastic, like an old plastic drawer or something where water can't escape out of it, right? And that you can put your feet into, but really cold water in that as well. I found it a few years ago when I was living in Plymouth, which was so much worse than Torbay for hot weather because it's a concrete fucking block.
So you're saying my old foot spa that I've got in the shed that I haven't used for a while, if I filled it up with cold water and then put my feet in it before I go to bed, sort of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky living here in Torbay because we've got plenty of tree cover.
Yeah.
So, like, another thing I will say is that if you're going to be out and about, try to go to places that have, canopy cover, at least to a point, because going to places like London or Plymouth or Manchester in the middle of the fucking summer, to me, is just stupid.
Well, we're going to quite a few wrestling shows coming up next month, so it's like it is what it is. So we'll take but mainly whether we're going by train or by bus, we'll obviously take cover and take whatever.
Like I said, if you're out and about on the day out or whatever, if you can get under tree cover, it's a good place to get out of the heat. It was obviously nothing's like 100% proof on this stuff, but yeah, I'm not only did coming back to this, I want to ask Zhao if Portugal has maximum temperature, maximum working temperatures, because it's a very hot country, is Portugal. And if we're talking about it, then I'm guessing hot countries already do this. So I just wondered if Zhao could tell us if they do this in Portugal.
So I'm going to read a bit of this while we wait for an answer there. Counter Kev says, Pagan, you need a wide hat, shades, and an ice shoes. So that's what you need. Ice shoes.
I've got shades. I don't need a white hat, just a black hat.
Unions are calling for essential maximum temperature rules in workplaces as the government faces increasing pressure to protect the UK from escalating impacts of climate change. The Advisory Climate Change Committee has outlined a comprehensive set of measures to safeguard Britons against worsening heat waves, floods, and droughts. Yeah, that we definitely need to do something when it comes to the workplace environments. I remember in my previous workplace, obviously, it was inside a shopping mall. Even though there was really, really hot days, we couldn't feel it because we're literally inside the mall, because the mall had like AC. But obviously, for me, like, I think there has to be, the government needs to take action against retail shops and that don't have some kind of air conditioning in these heat waves. I think they need to like say, hey, you can't like there needs to be like it's too hot in here. The fact that you don't have an AC, this is like, we can't let you can't, for the safety of customers and staff, you cannot open this shop until you basically put one in. I think there needs to be something like that. There needs to be
great if the government could help them out with that as well.
Well, yeah, if the government could subsidize somehow to say to them, can we make sure, like saying that every single shop should have air conditioning, we will subsidize some of it to go towards it. And basically, to kind of push businesses to say, hey, install this, please. This is kind of really, really important. I don't know.
So, yeah, we got an answer from Zhao. his first part to his response is no, we are used to it, but there are some farming and industrial activities that are forbidden in hot temperatures, which is kind of what I was expecting. Also, specific rules for schools and sport activities in hot weather, and also no fireworks during summer except for very controlled situations. So yeah, I like that was kind of what I was thinking. I mean, maybe this is like a more intense version of that, but then, as you say, we're not used to the heat here, so. I mean, I'm more used to the heat down here than most people are up north, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. How far did I read? So among the CCC's recommendations, maximize regulation for workers alongside installation of air conditioning in critical public service such as hospitals and care homes. Yes, of course, it couldn't be more obvious. As well as residents of vulnerable individuals. Ministers should even consider changing the school year so pupils are not forced to sit important national exams in summer heat. Yeah, that's something they should be considering as well. You know, I even back in my day, like when I was in school, like the classrooms didn't have air conditioning. I don't know how many schools have it or even have it at all. When they may not be able to sleep properly, they are absolutely not at their best. The CCC's Baroness Brown has says, yeah. The committee warns. Go on.
Sorry, so Sarah Davis just said in the chat there, I used to deliver corrosive chemicals, so I used to wear PPE such as an all-in-one chemical suit made of rubber wellies, rubber gauntlets, and if it was an ammonia, a full-face respirator, even in heat. Damn! Wow! That's harsh, man. Wow!
That's pretty brutal.
Credit to you for being able to do that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sarah. That's fair play to you, and to anyone else who does that, who has to go, who does that. Like that's brutal.
As y'all saying, in the coast, temperatures go up to 30. Same here. Exceptionally, sometimes go over it, but inland, except the highlands, it goes over 40. But it's a different heat, so we know how to keep houses cool even without AC. Yeah, wet heat is unbearable, but dry continental heat is manageable. It's weird here in the southwest. Depend on which way the wind is or whether there is any wind. Sometimes it's a dry heat, sometimes it's a wet heat. I don't know if it's different elsewhere on this island, but here in the southwest, it can be really weird on which type of heat we get.
Yeah. The committee warns the worsening of extremes of heat, flooding, and drought are threatening the British way of life, from lives and livelihoods to the NHS, gently changing seasons, children's football games, music festivals, and weekend visits to National Trust venues. I think it also is worth mentioning as well, we've had situations where the heat has been so hot on the rail lines as well, so even transport is going to be a major issue as well. That's something that we had at the last big heat wave last year.
I remember 2005 when the roads in London melted.
Yeah.
I remember that heat wave. Like, it's burned into my memory, pun intended. Because it was on the news, the heat was bouncing off the glasses of the stupid fucking tower blocks in London and melting the fucking roads.
I think it was, a few years ago when we had that like 38, 39 degree heat wave one time in London. And I remember looking at the grass, and the grass was so yellow, because the heat was killing it so badly. It was pretty brutal there. Sarah said, I did pass out a few times. I used to pour water down the inside of the suit to keep cool. I let my guard down once and tipped caustic soda without my suit and got totally covered in caustic. Wow. Damn. The reason Giles says the reason I might need AC because I am getting sicker every summer is due to the wet heat waves or tropical nights here in the coast. It's only a month or so, but it's really hard to me. Damn.
Yeah.
I do have an AC. I just want to point out, I do have an AC unit I paid for ages ago. It's not really that effective, but I am going to get I haven't gotten the fans out of the shed, but I'm going to get them out as well. Yeah, we are going to start basically pulling the curtains, keeping the curtains and windows shut, keeping the heat out. And yes, and I've said this already just for people, I am going to try and go for my walks at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to at least try and do my walk, even though it's going to be very hot. It won't be as hot as trying to do them in the afternoon. So
No, definitely not.
I've got to get the steps in. I've got to get it. You know, being locked inside all day is not good for my health. The CCC estimates that investing. We are gonna we'll probably do one more story after this, then we'll wrap up, guys. But I did say we would go a bit beyond because of how long we spent on the first video, guys. The CCC estimates that investing to protect the UK from climate change will cost around £11 billion a year of public and private money up to 2050. But the advisor said climate change impacts are already costing up to £60 billion a year in flood damages, crop losses, excess death, decreases in productivity, and disruption in transport and health services, with that figure set to rise by as much as £260 billion a year by 2050.
This is money that's going to have to be paid out. We're going to have to deal with this.
Yeah, Ed's going to turn around and say to the PM, yeah, we're going to be paying out whether we like it or not. That's the sad reality. Air conditioning will need to become a key part of keeping people cool in heat waves, says advisors, in private homes as well as public buildings, and the government needs to run public information campaigns telling people what steps they can take, such as closing blinds, curtains, and daytime keeping out the heat. Yeah, we need to shout more. There needs to be televised adverts. There needs to be newspapers. Of course, you hear it on social media and whatnot, but it needs to be specifically on TV more, because for older people, because they will just like look at it as just another heat wave, and some of them have done well to survive previous heat waves, but as they get older, it's getting harder for them in these climates. You know, the world is already warm.
It doesn't help that a lot of them still think that climate change is fucking fake. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know that doesn't help. The world is already warmed by 1.4 degrees as a result of human activities such as burning fossil fuels. On the current trajectory will be 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2050, with a real risk of hitting 4 degrees heating by 2100 under worst case scenario, he said. I'll be dead by then, unfortunately. Well, no, I could survive. I could live that long. I'd be like over 110, so I probably won't even have any memory by then if I manage to live that long. Without action to help people adapt, the increasing risk of heatwave in the 40 seas by mid-century could lead to as many as 10,000 excess deaths a year, the committee has said. By 2050. I'm fortunate, though, that the regular wrestling show that me and my partner go to, they have AC in the building as well.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a big relief. But the one I go to on Friday nights, where they have it is in this big massive building, hall building. It's really quite big, but there's no air conditioning, and during the winters it's fucking hot. During the spring it's fucking hot. And I am not looking forward to going there when it's summertime, which is what we're coming up to.
Could be like that when I've been to see the darts live as well, because that's indoors. And
I'm gonna need to take cooling spray as well as water bottles. I'm gonna need things to keep me cool. Like
also, black is actually a good thing to wear in the heat. Just saying. Why
is black good to wear the heat? I thought it does the opposite effect.
Aha. So science. This I originally learned when I was 14 years old in science class. So I don't know if you ever did a test where you had 3 beakers of boiling hot water. You wrap one in tin foil, one in white card, one in black card, and you measure to see which one cools down the fastest. I'm telling you, the one that cools down the fastest is the one with the black card wrapped around it. I took that and applied it to my clothing, and I'm telling you, as soon as I step out of the sun, if I'm wearing black, the heat, it's all like white basically reflects the heat waves back at you. Brighter colors reflect the heat waves back at you. Black doesn't. It's like a window. Yes, it lets the heat in really quickly, but it also does the opposite. For nearly every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is physics. This is basic secondary school physics. And if you're wearing black, this is people wonder why Muslim women wear black in. I mean, they wear white as well, but where they wear black.
They mainly wear black, out in those deserts and whatnot. And those temperatures of excess heat, aren't they? Yeah.
And people think it's done because the men want to be cruel to the women. No, actually. You will actually see men wearing black cloaks as well. The white is more of a class thing.
But it's also a very thin material, the black there as well.
Yes.
The material's very thin because obviously you don't wear thicker material.
Yeah, you don't want to be wearing really thick black stuff. That'd be stupid. Yeah. But I lived in Plymouth. When I was living in Plymouth, I go through the town centre or the city centre. Sorry, I'd have all my Gothic clothes on, right? And I'd see this big fat guy come up to me wearing all white, and he's sweating his bollocks off, and I haven't got a drop rolling down me at all. And this is in the middle of summer. And he comes up to me going, "Why aren't you sweating?" Well, because I wear black. And he's like, "Yeah, that's my reason for my question." I was like, "Well, black lets out the heat just as quickly as it lets it in. So as soon as I step out of the heat, as soon as I step out of the sun, the heat is just dissipating right out of my body. Whereas with you like whilst you're reflecting a lot of the heat coming at you because you're wearing white, your body is still generating heat in the sun. So you're reflecting your own body heat back at you, which is why you're sweating your ass off." And he looked at me like, I should have paid more attention in school. I was like,
let's get to the end of this, guys. So by 2050, heavy rainfall could become more intense. Sea levels could rise by 20 to 45 centimeters, and peak river flows could nearly double, raising the risk of flooding, it said. But the changing climate could also make drought very common, and with water shortages up to 5 billion litres a day, the committee added. We are facing a potential world where in 2050 you could turn the tap on and nothing would come out. Baroness Brown, who is chairwoman of the CCC Adaptation Committee, has said. Yeah, that's very frightening indeed. I do not want to live in a world where we are rationing water, please. Can we make sure we are not in a situation where we're rationing water?
Which is why I really want to get rid of the privatized water system. Yeah,
I'm really scared about that, guys. The committee is urging the government to set targets to ensure there are no more heat deaths by 2050 than today. No more homes at risk of flooding, and that by 2040. And water supply should be resilient to a 1 in 500 year drought. These are very big targets.
But at least they are setting targets.
It's true. They are big targets.
The fact that they are setting targets means that they're not, completely ignoring the situation like Trump's America is.
Solutions include setting workplace maximum temperature regulations to protect workers from exceeds and encouraging companies to install cooling measures. This is if the government are not doing this already, they should be doing this. This is an obvious one. Ensure cooling measures are installed in hospitals and care homes by 2035 and schools by 2050. Ranging shading at cool air conditioning. Sorry, I'm just going to point this out here. This needs to be faster. This needs to be faster. This is way too long. We're asking children in the next 25 years to say, guys, you'll have to wait 25 years before we can guarantee air conditioning in every single school and classroom.
I hate to do the whole devil's perspective thing here, but we do also have to be realistic at the pace we can do things.
Pull the money out, get the magic money tree, and just make it happen.
That's easier said than done.
Yep. Well, we'll just put it on top of the deck. Just put it on the tab.
Again, don't worry. I reckon this will be something that governments cannot ignore going forwards.
Yeah. Support for vulnerable people to install cooler technology, including heat pumps that can provide both warmth in the winter and cooling in the summer. Invest more in flood defence programmes, with annual spending rising to 1.6 billion, 2.2 billion across the UK to pay for both natural and hard defensive schemes. Ensuring new homes are not built in under-defeated areas of risk of existing or future flooding or coastal erosion. Yep.
It's why beavers
New
are
homes should
necessary.
also be built with water with water efficient. There should be water efficiency standards for appliances, and data centers should be built where they will not add to the region's drought risk, the report advises. I'm just going to say, like, data centers. I don't want to get started on them. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to get started on them because that's a whole different subject. Like, I don't want to get into. Trade unions have strongly endorsed the demand for workplace temperature cap. The GMB union highlighted the current inconsistency, saying it makes no sense whatsoever that a minimum temperature standard exists without a corresponding legal limit for heat. I 100% agree. Again, like, come on, can we, like, I really hope there's pressure on this. This is something that needs to be applied pressure on MPs to take action on.
This will become more and more brought up.
Yeah. The more heat waves you have, the more people will complain about it.
Yeah.
Live Wetfield, GMB senior organizer, the union had long campaigned for a maximum heat limit of 25C. Sweltering heat is loads of fun if you're swimming around by the pool. If you've got a job to do, it can be downright dangerous, he said. Bosses need to do everything possible to keep the workplace cool and, more importantly, safe. Unison Assistant General John Richards said setting a maximum temperature for workplace is essential. As climate change means staff as ever more likely to face fluctuating conditions. Here's another thing as well, like all the things we've just mentioned about like these temperatures as well. Like what this is going to end up doing as well. This is what happens if the government doesn't, implement a cap or something. You're going to end up having situations where, we're already having a situation where lots of people who are struggling to get back in the workforce or have lost their jobs or whatever reasons they're in that situation where they're on the benefits, right? We really have an NHS that is still like there's still a lot of problems with our national healthcare service, and we have a lot of people that are on benefits, and some of them have all sorts of different reasons why they can't get back into work and whatnot. Now, the people who are in work, some of those people are going to find themselves on the sick, and are going to find themselves becoming a burden for the NHS, and going to be finding themselves being, and it's going to be this is why these companies are going to be pissed off. They're going to be paying out a lot in sick pay because guess what? They're going to be suffering from heat stroke, and it's going to be too much for them because a lot of them haven't bothered putting AC in their buildings
because it was an expense.
Yep. And then they're going
to now they're going to have to pay out even more because they didn't want to pay out the initial expense. They're now going to have to pay out more. Short termist bollocks.
Yep. That's exactly it. This is exactly it. And it's also a burden on our NHS as well. Yeah. And on doctors as well. And could be also for parents if these people are because also some people may be living at home and whatnot, and caring for like all sorts of reasons. So again, it's like, it's straining the economy, as it said, productivity. Yeah. Being too hot at work puts people's health at risk and leads to poor performances and lower productivity. He said, yep, that's 100% true.
Not just that, hotter temperatures lead to hotter tempers in workplaces.
Yep. So you have more frustration when work is, and all that kind of stuff, especially with customers as well. When customers come in, customers are more, and I noticed that during the heat waves as well when I worked in retail. Any decent employer would want their staff to be at their best to do their job efficiently. After all, everyone works best in comfortable temperatures. Unite National Health and Safety Officer Rob Miguel said the recommendations are very welcome, but did not go far enough with some type of work, such as people in PPE, requiring lower temperatures to be incorporated, and said laws must include those working outside. Have spare a thought for people like builders who have to work outside in the excess heat as well.
Before my back gave up, my hip knee joint started to getting worse. I did a labouring job just outside Axminster to the east of Exeter, and it was in the middle of summer, and we were there on the scaffolding using a mini jackhammer to try and take off the plastering off the outside of buildings in 25 to 30 degree heat.
He said, we expect, if introduced, that any new laws must be fully enforced with meaningful penalties for those breaking the law. Workers must be easily able to report bad employees for breaking the law without fear of retribution. Wolf Wilkinson, head of policy and public affairs at the Institute of Occupational Health and Safety and Health, said climate impacts are already affecting all workers. Yep, that's true. Also, truck drivers who are trying to sleep in their cabs. Yeah, how on earth do they sleep in them? How the hell do truck drivers sleep in these heat? God.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dame McGinnis will tell us all his secrets if he's still watching. She calls for climate-related risks to be included in labour and health and safety laws, for businesses to include risks in their internal processes and training and awareness for all workers. Sam Ellis, Associate Director at the think tank IPPR, warned that the impacts today are making it harder for governments to improve lives, while populists exploit the anger to further their own agendas and undermine climate action more broadly. Yeah, reform will just jump on. Again, this is another excuse. Reform will take advantage of the frustration of people. Again, this is what they're going to do.
And they'll take advantage of it by fucking lying.
Yeah, my stomach is really playing up, chat. I really want to get to the end of this article, and we're going to have to stop. Extreme heat is affecting children's exam performances, forcing NHS surgeries to be cancelled, making it harder for farmers to grow food, he said. It is no surprise that frustration is growing, pairing long-term emission cuts, such as rolling out solar panels on schools, or immediate adaptation measures like air conditioning and classrooms will both protect communities and strengthen public confidence in climate action. Hilary McGrady, Director General of the National Trust, said climate change is putting our heritage under enormous strain, from fires in the countryside to farmers struggling with drought to flooding of historic buildings. What's at stake is even greater than the sum of its parts, its shared inheritance. But she said the UK has risen to huge social challenges before, and the committee's report provides a practical handrail to do it again, adding, we owe it to the past and future generations to use it. Last bit here. Eleanor Johnson, Climate Change Manager at the Wildlife Trust, said the solution to the escalating impacts of climate change lays with nature. A well-managed transition to nature-friendly farming, healthy soil that absorbs extreme rainfall, and green spaces that cause our towns and cities, and rivers and wetlands that slow and store floodwaters are all essential to keeping food on our shelves and helping to protect people, places, and wildlife, she said. These nature-based solutions are among the most cost-effective approaches to build resilience to climate change and biodiversity loss, while also providing significant benefits for people's health, well-being, and communities, bringing people together in an age of division and challenge. She urged the government to put nature at the heart of the climate adaptation, restoring and protecting habitats, investing in nature recovery, and ensuring planning decisions work with nature.
I will just say on that last paragraph, I need to get around to carrying on with it. Series on my channel following the 2021 British Ecological Society's recommendations on natural-based solutions, or NBSs as they put it. It's a very long report, and I've been slowly going through it. I need to make more headway with that. But the British Ecological, this is something that we will look at that institutions in Britain were looking at even before Labour got in.
Yeah. Guys, we've gone 2 hours long. I did say we were going to go extended, but we've run out of time for some of the other stories, but I'll just give you the headlines for them. The links for all the articles are in the description, guys, so I do recommend having a read for them yourself if you can. So the other 4 stories we missed out on is monkey business, primate sale over social media that are on the rise across the US, reports have revealed. So this is basically them, even though social media companies have banned the use of selling of wild certain animals and primates and whatnot on social media, they're finding ways to get past it, basically, essentially, in the US, which is very concerning indeed.
Expect a rant vid incoming about that.
So that's very scary indeed. Their thoughts and prayers, of course, for all those animals who are suffering that, because they should not have to be sold through social media like that. The other story is Rachel Reeves is to protect critical clean energy projects from legal challenges there. Again, I know that's something we would have wanted to discuss as well, because obviously we want to try and make sure that energy projects continue going forward. We've just ran out of time for that one there. Another one as well in the UK, a rise in solar panel sales as people want to save money. That was a nice one there from from the BBC. Shane couldn't have time to cover that one there because it's as the headline says, it's all about it's all about saving money now, not just sustainability. Yeah, because when money factors into it, it also encourages more people to go along with it as well when it comes to saving them money. And the last other story we didn't get to cover is a green light given for massive offshore wind farm off the Yorkshire coast. That is from the Yorkshire Post. That one there as well, which fantastic news for a massive offshore wind farm there. So cross fingers, it all goes green, and it gets set up as soon as they're able to do so there as well. Truck drivers have a hard life, that is for sure. It's a hard life for them already as it is, because they're in a truck, they're by themselves. The internet definitely has helped them. The internet has definitely been I would say the internet and social media has definitely helped them connect, so they're not as lonely anymore as they used to be on the roads and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like Van Man is prime example. Like, he does, even though he's not a truck driver, but just having that when he's doing his rounds and what that kind of stuff, that helps. Like, so the social media, internet has been a I think it's very good for the mental health of truck drivers, I would say, more than anything, I think, from there. But guys, I want to say, I know there wasn't that many views today. I mean, the most we had was probably about 12 at one point, but yeah, it's definitely been a quiet live stream indeed. But I want to say, for those who stuck with us from start to finish, thank you guys so much. For those who came in, very much appreciate it as well. We do appreciate everybody listening in to all of this. I don't know if I will timestamp this or if I'll make time to timestamp it. If I do, I'm going to do it in the morning because I am tired. I'm not going to, like I said, I said a while ago, chat, about something that I had to deal with that was really, really important. I'm going to tell Pagan what it is actually when the live stream ends, because I'm not ready to tell you guys just yet. But I'm very close to finishing it. But I promise everyone, when I have finally done it, I will tell everyone what it is. And I said at the time that you will all tell me off for it. So, but anyways, I will be back live tomorrow at 11 a.m. for another good morning show. So if you are hibernating within your homes away from the heat, you can join me at 11 o'clock for that indeed. So you are more than welcome to hibernate with me for an hour tomorrow on Friday for another good morning show indeed. But thank you, One Angry Pagan, for coming on. It's very much appreciated, my friend. I haven't set a time yet for next month's Eco Flake show. I'm looking at the dates now, so I probably will be Saturday the 25th, guys. But I'll double check for sure, because that would be exactly 1 month from now, from according to this. No, that would be 5 weeks from now, according to this. So we could either do 5 weeks or 3 weeks. We could. Well, we'll see. But yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate it. Guys, make sure you haven't already. Please subscribe to One Angry Pagan's YouTube channel. Very much give him some support as well. Very much indeed. Don't just do it for Pagan. Do it for the dog there as well.
Do it for the Muppet.
Do it for the Muppet as well, guys. Indeed. So thank you again all for watching. Take care as always. On your way out, guys, if you can, please hit that like button. Share this across social media. Consider subscribing to this channel as well. And we will catch you all very, very soon. Take care and goodbye, everyone.